When ICU nurse Nora Hale texted her brother for help, trapped, beaten, ribs broken by her cop boyfriend, she mistyped one digit. That wrong number belonged to Damian Vale, Chicago's most ruthless crime lord who kept his dead sister's phone alive for 6 years. He never answered it. Until tonight. Now the man who built an empire on fear is kicking down doors to save a stranger, starting a war with the police, and discovering that the text he should have ignored might be the only thing that saves them both. Stay until the end, then hit like, and comment your city so I can see how far Nora's story travels. The apartment smelled like copper and fear. Nora Hale pressed her back against the bathroom tile, one hand clamped over her ribs where the pain bloomed white-hot with every shallow breath. The other hand gripped her phone so hard her knuckles went bloodless. She could hear Grant moving in the living room, slow, deliberate footsteps that said he wasn't done, that he was thinking, planning his next move. Her vision swam. She blinked hard, trying to focus on the screen. Tyler. I need Tyler. Her brother lived 3 hours north in Milwaukee, but he'd come. He always came. Even when she told him everything was fine, even when she lied through her teeth and wore long sleeves in July, Tyler knew. He'd been begging her to leave Grant for 8 months. Tonight, she finally understood why. Nora's fingers trembled as she opened her messages. The bathroom door was locked. Grant had keys, but he hadn't used them yet. He was waiting for her to come out on her own, to apologize, to make it right. Not this time. Never again. She typed with shaking hands. Locked in bathroom. Grant broke my ribs. Can't breathe right. Need help. 2247 West Oakwood, Apt 6D. Please hurry. Her thumb hovered over the send button. Through the door, she heard Grant's voice, low and almost conversational. Baby, you're being dramatic. I barely touched you. He'd said the same thing 4 months ago when he'd shoved her into the kitchen counter hard enough to crack a rib. The same thing 2 months ago when he'd grabbed her throat and squeezed until black spots danced across her vision. Tonight, when she'd told him she was leaving, he'd driven his fist into her side with the cold precision of a man who knew exactly how much damage he could do without leaving marks that showed above a neckline. But ribs were internal. Ribs didn't lie. Nora hit send. The message disappeared into the void. Relief flooded through her for exactly 3 seconds before a new kind of panic set in. Tyler wouldn't see it immediately. He worked night shifts at the brewery, and his phone stayed in his locker until 2 a.m. She had maybe 20 minutes before Grant decided to stop waiting. She needed to buy time. Grant? Her voice came out thin, reedy. She hated how small she sounded. I'm sorry. I just need a minute. Silence. Then, open the door, Nora. I will. She pressed her hand harder against her ribs, trying to breathe through the stabbing ache. I need to clean up first. I look awful. You always look beautiful to me. His tone shifted, warmth bleeding into it like honey over rot. Come on, let me take care of you. I'll run you a bath. We'll talk, and everything will go back to normal. You know I love you, right? Nora closed her eyes. A year ago, those words would have melted her. Grant Maddox, decorated detective, community hero, the guy who bought her flowers just because and remembered her coffee order, had seemed like everything she'd ever wanted. Stable, protective, safe. She'd been so catastrophically wrong. I know, she whispered. Then open the door. 5 minutes, please. Another pause. Longer this time. When Grant finally spoke again, the warmth was gone. You've got 3. His footsteps retreated. Nora heard the couch springs creak as he sat down, heard the television flick on. He was settling in, waiting her out like a predator at a watering hole. She looked at her phone again. No response from Tyler yet. She pulled up the message thread, checked that it had sent. Her stomach dropped. The number at the top of the screen wasn't Tyler's. It was close. So close. Tyler's number was 312-55-0147. She'd sent her desperate, broken plea to 312-55-0149. 2 digits off. 2 tiny, impossible digits. No. 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 Nora's hands shook harder as she pulled up Tyler's actual contact, started typing the message again. Her vision blurred. Tears or shock or the way her body was trying to shut down from pain, she didn't know. She got halfway through before her phone buzzed. An incoming call from 312-555-0149. The wrong number was calling her back. Nora stared at the screen, her brain struggling to process what was happening. Nobody called back wrong numbers at midnight. Nobody. It had to be a scam, or her thumb moved on instinct. She answered. Hello? The voice on the other end was male, low, and carried an edge that made her spine straighten despite the agony in her ribs. Who is this? Not wrong number, sorry. Not you've got the wrong person. Just that flat, dangerous question that said whoever was on the other end didn't make mistakes, and didn't appreciate other people making them either. Nora opened her mouth, closed it. What was she supposed to say? Sorry, I was trying to text my brother, but I'm trapped in a bathroom with broken ribs and a cop boyfriend who's probably going to kill me. My bad? The silence stretched. You have 10 seconds to explain why you're using this number, the man said. Then I hang up and block you. 10-9. Something in his voice, the absolute certainty, the cold control, snapped Nora out of her paralysis. I made a mistake, she said quickly. I was trying to text my brother. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Your message said someone broke your ribs. Nora's breath caught. He'd read it. He knew. 8, 7? It's not your problem, she managed. I'll handle it. 6. I'm fine. 5. Please don't hang up. The words tumbled out before she could stop them. I don't know why I'm asking. You don't know me, but please just stay on the line for a minute, please. The countdown stopped. Nora pressed her forehead against the cool tile, her whole body shaking. She didn't know what she was doing. This was insane. But Grant was in the living room and Tyler wasn't answering, and this stranger, this wrong number stranger, was the only person in the world who knew where she was and what was happening. What's your name? The man asked. Nora Hale. The address in your text. You're there now? Yes. Locked in a bathroom? Yes. And the person who hurt you, they're in the apartment with you? Nora swallowed hard. Yes. Another pause. She could hear something in the background on his end, voices, maybe, or movement. When he spoke again, his tone had shifted. Still controlled, still cold, but something underneath it that Nora couldn't identify. How bad are the ribs? I don't know. Bad. It hurts to breathe deep. Punctured lung? I don't think so. Maybe. I'm a nurse. I should be able to tell, but Her voice cracked. I can't think straight. You said he's a cop. Nora hadn't said that. She'd said Grant's name in the text, but not his profession. You know him? She whispered. I know the name. Detective Grant Maddox, Chicago PD, works organized crime. That him? Terror flooded through her. If this stranger knew Grant, if he was one of Grant's contacts or informants, or... I need you to listen carefully, the man said, his voice cutting through her panic. I'm going to ask you a question, and I need you to answer honestly. Can you do that? Nora nodded, then realized he couldn't see her. Yes. Do you want out of that apartment? The question was so simple, so direct. It stripped away every excuse, every justification, every time she'd told herself it wasn't that bad, or she could fix it, or he'd get better. Yes, she breathed. Yes, I want out. Then I'm coming to get you. Nora's heart slammed against her ribs. You don't have to. 20 minutes. Can you stay safe for 20 minutes? I don't understand. Who are you? Someone who keeps their word. Stay in the bathroom. Keep the door locked. Don't engage with him unless you have to. I'll call you when I'm close. Wait. The line went dead. Nora stared at her phone, her mind reeling. This was crazy. This was beyond crazy. She'd just given her address to a complete stranger who somehow knew Grant, who'd promised to come get her like it was the simplest thing in the world, and she had no idea if he was a good Samaritan or someone infinitely more dangerous than the man waiting on her couch. But something in his voice, that cold, absolute certainty, made her believe him. She believed he was coming. Grant's voice drifted through the door. Time's up, baby. Nora's pulse spiked. Just one more minute. Now, Nora. The doorknob rattled. Then she heard the jingle of keys. No, not yet. 20 minutes, the stranger had said. She had to buy 20 minutes. Nora pushed herself upright, fighting back a scream as her ribs shifted. She turned on the sink, splashed cold water on her face, tried to look like someone who'd been collecting herself instead of calling for help. The lock clicked. The door swung open. Grant stood in the doorway, 6 feet of solid muscle in a rumpled dress shirt with his badge still clipped to his belt. He'd been handsome once, sharp jaw, dark hair, blue eyes that crinkled when he smiled. Now all Nora saw was the set of his shoulders, the way his hands hung loose at his sides, ready. There you are, he smiled. Feel better? Nora's mouth was dry. A little. Good. Come here. It wasn't a request. Nora forced herself to move, forced herself to step toward him even though every instinct screamed to run. There was nowhere to run. The apartment had one exit and Grant was standing between her and it. She made it 3 steps before his hand shot out and caught her wrist. Not hard. Not yet. Just firm enough to stop her. You scared me tonight, Grant said quietly. When you said you were leaving, you know that's not how this works, right? Nora's voice came out steady, calmer than she felt. I know. We're a team. We don't give up when things get rough. I know. So why'd you say it? His grip tightened. Why'd you try to hurt me like that? Because you broke my ribs, Nora wanted to scream. Because you put your hands on me and I'm tired of pretending it's love. But she knew better. I was upset, she said instead. I wasn't thinking. No, you weren't. Grant pulled her closer, his other hand coming up to cup her face with a gentleness that made her skin crawl. But that's okay. We all say things we don't mean, right? Right. Good girl. He kissed her forehead, and Nora had to lock her knees to keep from flinching. Now, let's get some ice on those ribs and... His phone rang. Grant frowned, pulled it from his pocket, glanced at the screen. His expression shifted, irritation giving way to something sharper. He answered on the second ring. Maddox. A pause. Yeah, I'm home. Why? Another pause, longer this time. His eyes cut to Nora, then away. How many? Nora's heart hammered. She had no idea who was on the other end, but the way Grant's face hardened told her it was work, police business. I'll be there in 30, Grant said. He hung up, shoved the phone back in his pocket, and looked at Nora with an expression she couldn't read. I have to go. Relief crashed through her so hard she almost staggered. Okay. There's been an incident, multiple officers involved. Grant grabbed his jacket from the back of the couch, shrugged into it. I might be gone a while. You going to be all right? Nora nodded, not trusting her voice. Grant crossed to her, tipped her chin up, studied her face. We're good? We're good. I love you, Nora. The words felt like shackles. I love you too. He kissed her, quick, possessive, and then he was moving toward the door. Keys in hand, badge glinting under the hallway light. Lock this behind me, he said. And Nora, don't do anything stupid while I'm gone. Then he was out. The door swung shut. Nora stood frozen for 5 full seconds before her legs gave out. She sank onto the couch, arms wrapped around her middle, and let herself shake. He was gone. Grant was gone. And the stranger was coming. She didn't know which scared her more. 17 minutes later, Nora's phone rang. She'd spent the time checking the locks, gathering her hospital ID and keys, shoving a change of clothes into her work bag with shaking hands. Every breath hurt. Every movement sent fresh waves of pain radiating through her chest. But she kept moving because stopping meant thinking, and thinking meant falling apart. The number on her screen was 312-555-0149. Nora answered. "Hello? I'm 2 blocks away." The man's voice was the same, calm, controlled, utterly certain. "Is he still there?" "No, he got called to work. He left about 15 minutes ago." A beat of silence. "You're sure?" "I'm sure." I watched him drive away. "Good. I'm pulling up now. Black SUV, tinted windows. When you see it, come down. Don't wait." Nora's hands trembled. "Okay." "Nora." Something in the way he said her name made her go still. "If this is a setup, if Maddox is waiting, if this is some kind of trap, you need to tell me now." "It's not a trap," she said quickly. "I swear, I need help." Another pause. "Then come down. I'll be waiting." The line went dead for the second time. Nora grabbed her bag, took one last look at the apartment she'd called home for a year, and walked out. She didn't lock the door. She didn't look back. The hallway was empty, the elevator slow. By the time she reached the lobby, her heart was beating so hard she thought her ribs might crack further. She pushed through the main doors and scanned the street. There. Black SUV, tinted windows, engine running. Nora crossed the sidewalk on legs that felt like water. The back door swung open before she reached it. "Get in." She climbed into the SUV, pulled the door shut, and finally, looked at the man who'd answered her desperate, misdirected text. He sat in the driver's seat, one hand on the wheel, the other resting on the gear shift. Dark hair, sharp features, expensive suit that looked like it cost more than Nora made in 3 months. But it was his eyes that stopped her cold, gray, assessing, and utterly devoid of warmth. This was not a good Samaritan. This was not someone who helped people out of kindness. This was someone dangerous. "Damien Vale," he said, as if reading her mind. "And before you panic, you should know that getting into this vehicle was either the smartest or stupidest decision you'll ever make." Nora's voice was barely a whisper. "Which one is it?" Damien's gaze held hers for a long moment. Then he shifted into drive. "We'll find out." The SUV pulled away from the curb, and Nora watched her building disappear into the night, carrying with it every piece of her old life. She didn't know where she was going. She didn't know who Damien Vale really was. But as the pain in her ribs pulsed with every breath, as the memory of Grant's hands and voice and threats settled like ice in her chest, Nora realized something with perfect clarity. She'd made her choice the moment she'd sent that text. Now all she could do was hope she survived what came next. Damien didn't speak for the first 10 minutes. He drove with the same cold precision he did everything else. Smooth lane changes, perfect speed, eyes flicking between the road and the rear view mirror in a pattern that suggested he was always watching for a tail. Nora sat in the back seat, her bag clutched to her chest, and tried to steady her breathing. It wasn't working. Every inhale felt like broken glass grinding together. Her vision kept blurring at the edges, and she was pretty sure that wasn't a good sign. Punctured lung? Internal bleeding? She should know this. She was an ICU nurse, for God's sake. But her brain wouldn't cooperate. It kept circling back to the same impossible fact. She was in a car with a stranger, a dangerous stranger, running from a cop. "You need to breathe deeper than that," Damien said suddenly. "You're going to hyperventilate." Nora's eyes snapped to the rearview mirror where she could just see his gaze tracking her. It hurts. I know. Do it anyway. She tried. The pain made her gasp, and the gasp made everything worse. Damien's jaw tightened. We're 5 minutes out, he said. You can hold on for 5 minutes. 5 minutes to where? Somewhere safe. That's not an answer. Damien's eyes met hers in the mirror. No, it's not. Something in his tone told Nora she wasn't going to get more than that. She pressed her hand against her ribs and focused on the window, watching the city blur past. They were heading south, away from her neighborhood, into areas she didn't recognize. The buildings got older, the streets narrower, fewer lights, fewer people. Nora's pulse kicked up again. Where are we? I told you, somewhere safe. Safe for who? The corner of Damien's mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, but close. Fair question. He took a left turn down an alley so narrow Nora was sure the SUV wouldn't fit. It did, barely. At the end, a garage door rolled open as they approached, automatic and silent. Damien drove through into a space that looked like a parking structure but felt like something else entirely. Security cameras. Armed guards at the entrance, a medical symbol painted on the far wall. The door rolled shut behind them. Damien killed the engine, climbed out, and opened Nora's door before she could process what was happening. Can you walk? I think so. Then come on, we don't have much time. Nora let him help her out of the SUV, her legs shaky but functional. The space smelled like concrete and antiseptic. Damien kept one hand on her elbow, guiding her toward a steel door marked Authorized Personnel Only. Time for what? Nora asked. Before Maddox realizes you're gone and starts looking. The door swung open. Inside was a hallway, clean, bright, lined with medical equipment that looked state-of-the-art. A woman in scrubs appeared from a side room, took one look at Nora, and nodded. Exam 3? Yeah. Damien looked at Nora. This is Dr. Chen. She's going to check you out. Dr. Chen moved forward with the calm efficiency of someone who'd done this 100 times. What happened? Blunt force trauma to the ribs, Nora managed. Maybe 3, maybe 4 broken, hard to tell. Breathing's painful, but not impossible. You medical? ICU nurse. Good. That makes this easier. Come with me. Dr. Chen led Nora down the hall and into a room that looked like a private ER bay. Monitors, IV stands, crash cart in the corner. She helped Nora onto the exam table with gentle hands. I'm going to need to examine you, Dr. Chen said. That means lifting your shirt. Is that okay? Nora nodded. She was too tired, too sore, too overwhelmed to care about modesty anymore. Dr. Chen worked quickly, visual exam first, then careful palpation that made Nora grit her teeth. 3 ribs at minimum, maybe 4 like you said. I want an X-ray to be sure, and we'll check for internal bleeding. You feel dizzy? Nauseous? A little. Scale of 1 to 10, how's the pain? 7? Maybe 8? I'm going to start an IV, get some fluids in you and something for the pain. Then we'll scan. Nora watched Dr. Chen move around the room, prepping equipment, her mind struggling to catch up. This wasn't a hospital. This was something else, something private, something that asked no questions and kept no records. Where am I? Nora asked quietly. Dr. Chen glanced at her, then away. Somewhere you can get help without paperwork. And Damien? Not my story to tell. Just focus on breathing for now. The IV went in smooth and easy. Nora felt the cold rush of saline, then the warm bloom of whatever painkiller Dr. Chen had added to the line. The edge came off the pain almost immediately, and with it, the adrenaline that had been keeping her upright. She was so tired. Dr. Chen helped her lie back. I'll be right back with the portable X-ray. Don't move. Then Nora was alone. She stared at the ceiling, listening to the quiet hum of medical equipment, and tried to process what she'd done. She'd sent a text to a wrong number. A stranger had come to get her. That stranger had brought her to a secret medical facility that treated people with no questions asked. And Grant was out there somewhere, probably already realizing she was gone. Nora's chest tightened with something that wasn't physical pain. The door opened. But it wasn't Dr. Chen. It was Damien. He stood in the doorway, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. "They're getting the X-ray machine. You'll be fine." "You don't know that." "I do, actually. Chen's the best trauma surgeon in the city. If something was seriously wrong, she'd have already called in a team." Nora studied him. The expensive suit, the watchful eyes, the way he moved like violence was always an option, even when he was standing still. "Who are you really?" she asked. Damien's gaze didn't waver. "I told you." "Damien Vale. That's a name, not an answer. It's the only answer you need right now. You knew Grant, you knew his name, his job. You have a private medical facility with no records, and you keep a dead phone number active." Nora's voice was steady despite the drugs in her system. "So I'll ask again. Who are you?" For a long moment, Damien didn't respond. Then he moved further into the room, pulled up a chair, and sat down facing her. "I run things in this city that don't make the news," he said quietly. "I have resources, connections, and I keep that phone number active because it used to belong to someone I loved, someone who needed help once and didn't get it. When your text came through," he stopped. "I made a choice." Nora's throat was tight. "What choice?" "To not let it happen again." The words hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning Nora couldn't fully parse. She wanted to ask more: who the phone had belonged to, what had happened, why a man like Damien Vale would risk whatever he was risking to help a stranger. But Dr. Chen returned with the X-ray machine, and Damien stood. "I'll be outside," he said. "Yell if you need me." Then he was gone, and Nora was left with more questions than answers. The scan took 15 minutes. Dr. Chen worked in silence, positioning Nora carefully, taking images from multiple angles. When she was done, she helped Nora sit up and pulled up the results on a tablet. 3 fractured ribs, she said. "No displacement, no punctured lung, no internal bleeding that I can see. You're lucky." Nora almost laughed. "Lucky." "Considering what could have happened?" "Yes." Dr. Chen's expression softened. "I'm going to wrap you, keep you on pain management, and monitor you overnight. The ribs will heal on their own, but you need to rest. No heavy lifting, no sudden movements. And if you start having trouble breathing, you tell me immediately. I work 12-hour shifts in the ICU. I can't just... You're not working for at least 2 weeks, minimum." Nora opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. What was she supposed to say? She couldn't go back to work. She couldn't go back to her apartment. She couldn't go back to her life. Grant had made sure of that. "Okay," she whispered. Dr. Chen squeezed her shoulder. "You're safe here. I promise." Nora wanted to believe her, but safety felt like a foreign concept right now, something she'd forgotten the shape of months ago and was only just starting to remember. Dr. Chen wrapped her ribs with practiced efficiency, adjusted her IV, and left her with instructions to rest. Nora lay back against the pillows and stared at the ceiling, her mind too loud and her body too tired to do anything about it. She must have dozed off, because the next thing she knew, the lights had dimmed and someone was sitting in the chair beside her bed. Damien. He had his phone in one hand, scrolling through something with a frown. When he noticed Nora watching, he looked up. "You should be sleeping. So should you." "I don't sleep much." Nora shifted carefully, testing her ribs. The pain was there, but muted, manageable. "What time is it?" 3 a.m. 3 hours since she'd left her apartment. 3 hours since her entire world had tilted sideways. "Has he called?" Nora asked quietly. Grant? Damien's expression didn't change. 12 times, plus 6 texts. Nora's stomach dropped. How do you... I cloned your phone temporarily. I needed to know if he was tracking you. Is he? Not yet, but he will be. Damien set his phone aside. Which is why you're staying here tonight. Tomorrow, we figure out next steps. Nora's chest felt tight again. I can't stay here. I have a job, a life. You had a life. Past tense. Damien's voice was blunt, cutting. The second you walked out of that apartment, everything changed. You understand that, right? Maddox isn't going to let you go. Men like him don't. You don't know him. I know his type. Damien leaned forward, elbows on his knees. He's a cop. He's got resources, connections, the law on his side, and he's going to use all of it to find you. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to stay here, under protection, while I figure out how to keep you alive. And you're not going to argue. Nora stared at him. I don't even know you. No, you don't. But I'm the only thing standing between you and a man who's already proven he'll hurt you, so you can trust me or you can take your chances out there. Your choice. It should have been an easy decision. It should have been obvious. But Nora had spent a year making the wrong choices. Trusting the wrong person. Believing that love could fix what was broken. Why are you doing this? She whispered. You don't owe me anything. Damien was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was softer than she'd heard it yet. 6 years ago, someone sent me a text from that number, someone who needed help, and I didn't answer. I was busy. I thought it could wait. His jaw tightened. It couldn't. So when your message came through tonight, I made a different choice. Nora's throat burned. Who was it? My sister, Elena. The name came out rough, like something he didn't say often. She was 22, and she's dead because I didn't pick up the phone. The words hit Nora like a physical blow. She wanted to say something, offer condolences, ask what happened, but Damien stood before she could. Get some rest, he said. We'll talk in the morning. He was halfway to the door when Nora found her voice. Thank you. Damien paused, didn't turn around. Don't thank me yet. Then he was gone, and Nora was alone again with the monitors beeping softly and the weight of everything settling on her chest like concrete. She'd made her choice. Now all she could do was hope it was the right one. Nora woke to daylight filtering through blinds she didn't recognize and pain that told her the previous night hadn't been a nightmare. She lay still for a moment, taking inventory. The ribs were worse than yesterday, stiff, throbbing, each breath a reminder of Grant's fist driving into her side. The IV was gone from her arm, replaced by a neat square of gauze and tape. The room was empty except for her and the medical equipment still humming quietly in the corner. Morning. She'd made it to morning. The door opened and Dr. Chen appeared with a tray, coffee, toast, a small cup of pills. How's the pain? She asked, setting the tray on the rolling table. Manageable. That's a lie, but I appreciate the effort. Dr. Chen handed her the pills. Ibuprofen and something stronger if you need it. The wrap stays on for another week. You'll need to change it every few days. I'll show you how before you leave. Nora took the pills, chased them with coffee that was surprisingly good. When am I leaving? That's up to Vale. But medically, you're stable enough to move. Just take it easy. Dr. Chen checked her vitals, examined the wrap, asked questions Nora answered on autopilot. When she was satisfied, she stepped back. He's waiting for you in the office upstairs. Can you walk? Nora swung her legs over the side of the bed, testing. Everything hurt, but nothing gave out. I can walk. Good. I'll have someone bring you clothes. Yours have blood on them. Nora looked down. She was wearing a hospital gown she didn't remember changing into. The thought of someone undressing her while she slept should have bothered her more than it did, but she was too tired to care. 15 minutes later, dressed in borrowed jeans and a soft sweater that didn't press against her ribs, Nora followed Dr. Chen's directions up a set of stairs and through a door that opened into a space that looked nothing like the medical bay below. This was an office, sleek, modern, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a part of Chicago Nora had never seen from this angle. Damien sat behind a desk that probably cost more than her car, reading something on his laptop with the same intense focus he did everything else. He looked up when she entered. "You're awake. You're observant." The corner of his mouth twitched. "Sit. We need to talk." Nora lowered herself into the chair across from him, moving carefully. Damien closed his laptop and leaned back, studying her with that unnerving gray gaze. "How much do you know about Grant Maddox's work?" he asked. The question caught her off guard. "He's a detective. Organized crime division. That's all he ever told me." "Did he bring work home? Talk about cases?" "Never. He said it was classified." Nora frowned. "Why?" Damien pulled a file from his desk drawer, slid it across to her. "Because the man you were living with isn't just a cop. He's dirty." Nora opened the file. Inside were photographs. Grant shaking hands with men in expensive suits. Grant at restaurants with people who looked like they belonged in mob movies. Grant accepting envelopes that were clearly not birthday cards. There were documents, too, transaction records, surveillance logs, notes in handwriting she didn't recognize. Her hand shook as she flipped through page after page of evidence that the man she'd loved was someone else entirely. "Where did you get this?" she whispered. "I have resources." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one you're getting." Damien's voice was flat. "Maddox has been on my radar for 2 years. He takes money from people I do business with. He feeds information to rivals. He's a problem." Nora looked up sharply. "What kind of business?" "The kind that doesn't appreciate cops playing both sides." The implication settled over Nora like ice water. Damien Vale wasn't just dangerous. He was exactly what Grant had spent his career pretending to fight. And she'd walked right into his world because the alternative was worse. "So what now?" Nora asked. "You're going to use me to get to him?" "No." Damien's response was immediate, certain. "You're not bait. You're not leverage. You're someone who needed help, and I gave it. What happens next is up to you." "That's not true. You said I can't go back to my life." "You can't. Not safely." Damien leaned forward. "Maddox called your phone 43 times last night. He went to your work. He filed a missing persons report this morning. He's telling everyone you're unstable, that you wandered off in a confused state. He's already building a narrative." Nora's stomach turned. "He's looking for me." "Actively. Which means you have 2 options. 1, I set you up somewhere new. New city, new identity, enough money to start over. You disappear, and Maddox spends the rest of his life wondering what happened. And option 2? Damien's expression didn't change. "You stay. You let me handle Maddox my way, and when it's done, you get your life back." "Your way?" Nora repeated slowly. "What does that mean?" "It means I make the problem go away." The words were calm, matter-of-fact, like he was discussing taking out the trash instead of a Chicago police detective. Nora should have been horrified, should have stood up, walked out, found the nearest police station, and turned herself in. But the photographs in the file told her everything she needed to know about how that would end. Grant had connections, Grant had power, and Grant would make sure she never testified against him. "I need time to think," she said. "You have until tonight. After that, Maddox's search gets more aggressive and keeping you hidden gets harder." Damien stood, moved to the window. Outside, the city stretched endlessly, steel and glass and millions of people going about their lives, oblivious to the wars happening in the shadows. "There's a room downstairs," he said without turning around. "It's yours as long as you need it. food, clothes, whatever you want, but you don't leave this building without me or someone I trust. Understood? Nora nodded, then realized he couldn't see her. Understood. Good. Someone will show you down. It was a dismissal. Nora stood, started toward the door, then stopped. Why do you keep helping me? She asked. You said it was about your sister, but that doesn't explain all of this. The protection, the resources. You're risking a lot for someone you don't know. Damien was quiet for a long moment. When he finally turned, his expression was unreadable. Maybe I'm tired of people getting hurt because I didn't act fast enough. It wasn't a complete answer, but it was honest. Nora left him standing at the window and let herself be led back downstairs to a room that was less medical bay and more apartment. Bed, bathroom, small sitting area with a television. Someone had left clothes in her size, toiletries, even a phone charger. She sat on the edge of the bed and stared at her hands. Two options. Run or stay. Start over or fight back. The old Nora, the one who'd believed Grant when he said he loved her, who'd made excuses for bruises and broken promises, would have chosen to run, would have taken the new identity and disappeared into whatever life Damien could build for her. But that Nora had died last night in a locked bathroom with broken ribs and a phone in her shaking hands. This Nora, the one who'd survived, who'd sent that text, who'd gotten into a stranger's car because anything was better than staying. This Nora wanted something different. She wanted her life back, and she wanted Grant to pay for taking it. Nora pulled out her phone, the one Damien had cloned, the one that still had 43 missed calls and a voicemail she hadn't listened to yet. Her thumb hovered over the play button. She pressed it. Grant's voice filled the small room, and Nora had to fight the urge to throw the phone across the floor. Nora, baby, where are you? I came home and you were gone. Your car's still here. Your purse. Jesus, I'm worried sick. Call me back, please. Whatever I did, we can fix it. Just call me. The message was perfect. Concerned boyfriend. Loving partner. No mention of broken ribs or locked bathrooms or the fear in Nora's eyes when he'd cornered her. She deleted it. Moved to the next one. Nora, this isn't funny. I talked to your supervisor. You didn't show up for your shift. Where the hell are you? You're scaring me. Delete. I filed a missing persons report. The whole department's looking for you. If you're hurt, if someone took you, God, Nora, just give me a sign you're okay. Delete. The messages went on. 12 of them, each more desperate than the last. By the end, Grant's voice had shifted from concern to something sharper. I know you're angry. I know I messed up. But running away won't solve anything. Come home. We'll talk. I promise I won't. A pause. Just come home. Nora's hands were shaking again. She set the phone down before she could do something stupid like call him back, like believe the lies he was so good at telling. A knock at the door pulled her from her thoughts. Come in. A man entered, tall, built like he spent most of his life in a gym, with a scar running from his eyebrow to his jaw. He looked like violence personified, but his voice was surprisingly gentle. I'm Marcus, Vale's head of security. He asked me to check on you. Nora straightened. I'm fine. That's what everyone says. Marcus pulled up a chair, sat backward on it with his arms crossed over the top. You eat yet? Dr. Chen brought me toast. Toast isn't food. I'll have the kitchen send up something real. He studied her with the same assessing look Damien had, but warmer. Boss says you're staying for a bit. Maybe. I haven't decided. Fair enough. But while you're here, there's rules. You don't go anywhere without someone from my team. You don't answer your phone unless we clear it first. You don't contact anyone from your old life. And if you see Maddox, even a glimpse, you tell us immediately. Nora bristled. I'm not a prisoner. No, you're a target. There's a difference. Marcus's expression softened. Look, I get it. This is a lot. But Vale doesn't bring people here unless he's serious about keeping them safe. So let us do our job, yeah?
Nora wanted to argue, wanted to insist she could handle herself, but the ache in her ribs and the memory of Grant's hands reminded her exactly how well she'd handled things on her own. "Okay," she said quietly. Marcus nodded, stood. "Good. Food'll be up in 20. You need anything else? Just ask." He left, and Nora was alone again with her thoughts. She spent the rest of the morning exploring the room, testing her limits, trying to figure out what came next.
Lunch arrived as promised: soup, sandwich, fruit that actually tasted fresh. She ate slowly, her appetite returning in small increments. By early afternoon, she was restless. The room felt like a cage, comfortable but confining. She needed to move, needed to think, needed to do something other than sit and wait for her ribs to heal. Nora opened the door, found Marcus stationed outside like he'd been there the whole time. "I want to see Damien," she said. Marcus pulled out his phone, sent a quick text. The response came back almost immediately. "He's in a meeting. Should be done in an hour." "I'll wait." Marcus led her back upstairs to the office where she'd been that morning. This time, Damien wasn't alone. 3 men sat around a conference table, older, hard-faced, the kind of men who'd seen things Nora couldn't imagine. They looked up when she entered, and the conversation stopped cold. Damien's jaw tightened. "We're not finished." "I need to talk to you," Nora said. "Now." One of the men chuckled. "She's got fire. I like her." Damien shot him a look that could have frozen hell. Then he stood. "Gentlemen, we'll continue this later." It wasn't a request. The 3 men filed out, giving Nora curious glances as they passed. When the door closed, Damien turned to her. "This better be important." Nora crossed her arms, ignoring the twinge in her ribs. "I've made my decision." "Which is?" "I'm staying, and I want you to go after Grant." Damien's expression didn't change. "You're sure?" "I'm sure. Because once I start, there's no stopping, no changing your mind halfway through." "I understand." Damien moved closer, close enough that Nora had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. "Do you? Because what you're asking me to do, it's not legal, it's not clean, and when it's over, you don't get to pretend you didn't know what happened." Nora held his gaze. "Grant broke my ribs. He locked me in a bathroom. He made me believe I was crazy for wanting to leave. So whatever you have to do to make sure he never hurts anyone else, I can live with that." For a long moment, Damien said nothing. Then he nodded. "All right, but we do this smart. Maddox has friends, resources. Taking him down means taking down everyone who protects him. How long will that take? Depends on how careful he's been. Could be weeks, could be months." Nora's heart sank. "I can't hide here for months." "You won't have to, but you'll need to stay out of sight until we know what we're dealing with." Damien moved back to his desk, pulled up something on his laptop. "I've got people digging into his financials, his contacts, everyone he's ever done a favor for. We find the cracks, we exploit them, and we bring the whole thing down." "And if he finds me first?" "He won't." The certainty in Damien's voice should have been reassuring, but Nora had learned the hard way that certainty didn't mean safety. "I want to help," she said. Damien looked up sharply. "No." "You said it yourself, he's been careful. But I lived with him for a year. I know things, passwords, patterns, people he talked to when he thought I wasn't paying attention." "That doesn't mean—" "I'm not asking permission." Nora's voice was steady, firm. "If you're going after him, I want to be part of it. I need to be part of it." Damien studied her, and Nora could practically see him weighing options, calculating risks. Finally, he sighed. "Fine, but you follow my lead. You don't take risks. And if I tell you to back off, you back off. Agreed?" "Agreed." "Good." Damien pulled up a chair beside his desk, gestured for her to sit. "Then let's start with what you know." For the next 2 hours, Nora talked. She told Damien about Grant's routines, when he worked late, when he brought files home,
the names of colleagues he mentioned in passing.
She described his home office, the locked drawer he thought she didn't know about, the laptop he never let her touch. She recounted conversations she'd overheard, phone calls that ended when she walked into the room, envelopes of cash that appeared and disappeared without explanation. Damien listened, took notes, asked questions that made Nora realize just how much she'd noticed without understanding what it meant. By the time they finished, the sun was setting outside the windows. "That's good," Damien said, leaning back. "Really good. You've given me more than I had this morning." Nora felt drained. Talking about Grant, reliving a year of memories she'd rather forget, had left her exhausted in ways that had nothing to do with her injuries. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we verify what you've told me, cross-reference with what we already know, and we start building a case." "A case for who? The police?" Damien's smile was cold. "No, for me." The word sent a chill through Nora. She wanted to ask what that meant, what Damien planned to do when he had all the evidence he needed. But part of her already knew, and part of her didn't care. "I should let you get back to work," Nora said, standing carefully. "Marcus will take you back to your room. Get some rest. Tomorrow we start planning." Nora nodded, started toward the door. Damien's voice stopped her. "Nora." She turned. "You did the right thing, staying." She wanted to believe him. "How do you know?" "Because running doesn't fix anything. It just delays the inevitable." Damien's expression was unreadable. "And you don't strike me as someone who runs." Nora didn't have an answer for that. She left him at his desk and let Marcus guide her back downstairs, her mind churning with everything that had happened, everything that was still to come. The room was exactly as she'd left it, but it felt different now. Less like a cage and more like a war room, a place to regroup, to plan, to prepare for what came next. Nora changed into the soft clothes someone had left for her, sweatpants, a loose shirt that didn't press against her ribs. She was about to climb into bed when her phone buzzed. A text. From Grant. Her heart stopped. She'd thought Damien had blocked him, rerouted everything. But there it was. A message from a number she knew by heart. "I know you're scared. I know I hurt you. But I love you, Nora. Please come home." Nora stared at the words until they blurred. Then she did something she should have done months ago. She blocked the number, deleted the message, and turned off her phone. Grant Maddox had taken enough from her. Her safety, her confidence, her belief that love was supposed to feel good instead of dangerous. He wasn't taking anything else. Nora climbed into bed, pulled the blankets up, and closed her eyes. Sleep didn't come easy. It never did anymore. But eventually, exhaustion won out, and she drifted into darkness punctuated by dreams of locked doors and hands that grabbed, and voices that promised love while delivering pain. She woke to voices outside her door, low, urgent, the kind of conversation that stopped when you got too close. Nora sat up carefully, listening. Marcus. And someone else. A woman. "Can't stay here long term, Vale knows that." "He's working on it." Working on it isn't good enough. Maddox has the entire CPD looking for her. Eventually someone's going to connect dots we don't want connected. That's why we move fast. And if we're not fast enough? Silence. Then Marcus again, quieter. Then we do what we always do. We protect what's ours. Nora's chest tightened. She wasn't theirs. She was a stranger they'd taken in, a problem they were solving. But the way Marcus said it, like she mattered, like keeping her safe was non-negotiable, made something in her chest crack open. She'd forgotten what it felt like to have people on her side. The voices moved away. Nora lay back down, but sleep was impossible now. She stared at the ceiling, counting breaths, waiting for morning. When it finally came, she was ready. Ready to fight back. Ready to take her life into her own hands. And ready to make Grant Maddox regret the day he ever laid a hand on her. Marcus knocked at 7 a.m., brought breakfast, told her Damien wanted to see her at 8. Nora ate, showered carefully around her ribs, and dressed in the clothes that had been left for her: jeans, a soft sweater, boots that actually fit. When she climbed the stairs to Damien's office, he was already waiting, but this time he wasn't alone. The woman from last night stood beside him, tall, dark-skinned, with eyes that missed nothing. She looked Nora over with the same assessing gaze everyone in this building seemed to have. "Nora, this is Sienna, my second in command." Sienna extended a hand. Her grip was firm, confident. "Heard a lot about you. I hope it was good." "It was interesting." Sienna glanced at Damien. "You want to tell her, or should I?" Damien's jaw tightened. "Maddox made a move last night." Nora's blood ran cold. "What kind of move?" "He went to your work. Told your supervisor you're having a breakdown, that you're not safe alone. He convinced them to give him access to your locker." "Why?" "Because he's looking for something. Evidence, maybe. Or leverage." Damien pulled up security footage on his laptop, turned it so Nora could see. "This is from the hospital parking lot, 2 a.m. The screen showed Grant's car pulling up, Grant getting out, Grant walking into the building with the confidence of someone who belonged there. 20 minutes later, he emerged carrying a bag Nora recognized as hers, her work bag, with her spare keys, her employee badge, everything she'd need to access patient records, medication rooms, secure areas. "He's going to use it," Nora whispered. "He's going to make it look like I did something wrong." "That's the plan." Sienna's voice was calm, clinical. "He frames you, ruins your credibility, makes sure nobody believes you if you try to come forward." Nora felt sick. "Can he do that?" "He's a detective. He knows exactly how to do that." Damien closed the laptop. "Which is why we move now, today. We don't give him time to build his case." "What are you going to do?" "What I should have done 2 years ago." Damien's expression was cold, calculated. "I'm going to war." The words hung in the air like a threat and a promise all at once. Nora looked between Damien and Sienna, saw the determination in their faces, and made her choice. "Then let's start." They made it 3 blocks before Sienna's laptop started screaming alerts. "He's moving," she said, fingers flying across the keyboard. "Grant just left the coffee shop. He's heading for his car." Damien's jaw tightened. "Is he following us?" "Can't tell yet, but he's moving fast." Sienna pulled up traffic cameras, tracking Grant's vehicle as it merged into traffic. "Yeah, he's following, 2 cars back." Nora's blood turned to ice. "How did he know which car we're in?" "He didn't. He's tracking your phone," Sienna cursed under her breath. "The one we gave you, he must have gotten the number when you called him, traced it. Damn it, I should have thought of that." Damien took a hard left, cutting through an alley too narrow for comfort. The sedan scraped against a dumpster, but he didn't slow down. "Options? We lose him in traffic, or we confront him." Sienna's voice was clinical, detached. "But if we confront him now, we lose the element of surprise for later." "Later might not matter if he catches us now." Damien took another turn, this one putting them on a main street packed with afternoon traffic. "Nora, how desperate is he? Scale of 1 to 10. Nora thought about the look in Grant's eyes when she'd challenged him. The way his mask had cracked. The cold certainty in his voice when he'd said she knew too much. 11, she whispered. Damien nodded like that was exactly what he'd expected. "Then we can't lead him back to the building. Sienna, find me somewhere public. Lots of cameras, lots of witnesses." "On it." Sienna's fingers never stopped moving. "There's a shopping center 4 blocks north, underground parking, multiple exits. We can lose him there." "Do it!" The sedan surged forward, weaving through traffic with precision that suggested Damien had done this before. Nora gripped the door handle, her ribs protesting every sharp turn, her mind racing faster than the car. Grant was following them. Grant knew she'd set him up, and Grant had nothing to lose now except everything. He's gaining, Sienna reported. Running the red light at Morrison. Damien cursed in a language Nora didn't recognize. Hold on. He took the next turn so fast the sedan went up on two wheels for a heart-stopping second. Horns blared. Someone screamed. Then they were through, shooting into the shopping center parking garage with Grant's car visible in the rearview mirror. Second level, Sienna directed. There's a service exit that connects to the street on the other side. Damien took the ramp at a speed that had Nora's stomach in her throat. The parking garage was a maze of concrete pillars and painted lines, half empty on a weekday afternoon. He whipped the sedan into a spot between two SUVs, killed the engine. Out! Now! They scrambled from the car. Sienna grabbed her laptop, Damien grabbed Nora's arm, and they were moving before Nora's brain caught up with her legs. Behind them, she heard the screech of tires as Grant's car took the ramp. Service exits this way, Sienna hissed, pointing to a door marked Authorized Personnel Only. Damien tried the handle, locked. Move! Sienna pulled something from her jacket, a small tool that looked like a credit card. She slid it into the lock, twisted, and the door clicked open. Go! They spilled into a concrete stairwell that smelled like motor oil and stale cigarettes. Damien locked the door behind them, but they all knew it wouldn't hold long. Down or up? Nora gasped, her ribs screaming. Down, street level. Damien was already moving, taking the stairs two at a time. We get to the street, we blend into the crowd. He can't make a scene in public. It would destroy his cover. He just chased us through downtown Chicago, Nora panted. I think his cover's already blown. Not if he plays it right. Traffic accident, concerned boyfriend looking for his unstable girlfriend. He's got a dozen stories that would work. They hit street level, burst through another door into afternoon sunlight and the chaos of a busy shopping district. Damien immediately shifted his body language, slowing to a normal walk, his hand on Nora's elbow gentle instead of urgent. To anyone watching, they were just another couple out shopping. Sienna peeled off without a word, disappearing into the crowd with her laptop tucked under one arm. Where's she going? Nora asked. To make sure we're not still being tracked. Damien guided her toward a department store entrance. Inside. We need to put distance between us and that parking garage. The store was massive. 3 floors of clothing, cosmetics, home goods. Damien led Nora through the maze of displays with the confidence of someone who'd planned escape routes from worse situations. They took an escalator up, then another, finally emerging in a section devoted to kitchen appliances where the afternoon crowd thinned to almost nothing. Damien pulled out his phone, sent a rapid series of texts. Responses came back almost immediately. Marcus is bringing another car. 20 minutes. He looked at Nora, really looked at her for the first time since they'd fled the parking garage. You okay? Nora wanted to laugh. Okay? She'd just been chased through Chicago by her abusive ex. They made it 3 blocks before Sienna's laptop started screaming alerts. He's moving, she said, fingers flying across the keyboard. Grant just left the coffee shop. He's heading for his car. Damien's jaw tightened. Is he following us? Can't tell yet, but he's moving fast. Sienna pulled up traffic cameras, tracking Grant's vehicle as it merged into traffic. Yeah, he's following, 2 cars back. Nora's blood turned to ice. How did he know which car we're in? He didn't. He's tracking your phone. Sienna cursed under her breath. The one we gave you, he must have gotten the number when you called him, traced it. Damn it, I should have thought of that. Damien took a hard left, cutting through an alley too narrow for comfort. The sedan scraped against a dumpster, but he didn't slow down. Options? We lose him in traffic, or we confront him. Sienna's voice was clinical, detached. But if we confront him now, we lose the element of surprise for later. Later might not matter if he catches us now. Damien took another turn, this one putting them on a main street packed with afternoon traffic. Nora, how desperate is he? Scale of 1 to 10. Nora thought about the look in Grant's eyes when she'd challenged him, the way his mask had cracked, the cold certainty in his voice when he'd said she knew too much. 11, she whispered. Damien nodded like that was exactly what he'd expected. Then we can't lead him back to the building. Sienna, find me somewhere public. Lots of cameras, lots of witnesses. On it. Sienna's fingers never stopped moving. There's a shopping center 4 blocks north, underground parking, multiple exits. We can lose him there. Do it. The sedan surged forward, weaving through traffic with precision that suggested Damien had done this before. Nora gripped the door handle, her ribs protesting every sharp turn, her mind racing faster than the car. Grant was following them. Grant knew she'd set him up. And Grant had nothing to lose now except everything. He's gaining, Sienna reported, running the red light at Morrison. Damien cursed in a language Nora didn't recognize. Hold on. He took the next turn so fast the sedan went up on 2 wheels for a heart-stopping second. Horns blared. Someone screamed. Then they were through, shooting into the shopping center parking garage with Grant's car visible in the rearview mirror. Second level, Sienna directed. There's a service exit that connects to the street on the other side. Damien took the ramp at a speed that had Nora's stomach in her throat. The parking garage was a maze of concrete pillars and painted lines, half empty on a weekday afternoon. He whipped the sedan into a spot between 2 SUVs, killed the engine. Out! Now! They scrambled from the car. Sienna grabbed her laptop, Damien grabbed Nora's arm, and they were moving before Nora's brain caught up with her legs. Behind them, she heard the screech of tires as Grant's car took the ramp. Service exits this way, Sienna hissed, pointing to a door marked Authorized Personnel Only. Damien tried the handle. Locked. Move. Sienna pulled something from her jacket, a small tool that looked like a credit card. She slid it into the lock, twisted, and the door clicked open. Go. They spilled into a concrete stairwell that smelled like motor oil and stale cigarettes. Damien locked the door behind them, but they all knew it wouldn't hold long. Down or up? Nora gasped, her ribs screaming. Down! Street level! Damien was already moving, taking the stairs 2 at a time. We get to the street. We blend into the crowd. He can't make a scene in public. It would destroy his cover. He just chased us through downtown Chicago, Nora panted. I think his cover's already blown. Not if he plays it right. Traffic accident, concerned boyfriend looking for his unstable girlfriend. He's got a dozen stories that would work. They hit street level, burst through another door into afternoon sunlight and the chaos of a busy shopping district. Damien immediately shifted his body language, slowing to a normal walk, his hand on Nora's elbow gentle instead of urgent. To anyone watching, they were just another couple out shopping. Sienna peeled off without a word, disappearing into the crowd with her laptop tucked under one arm. Where's she going? Nora asked. To make sure we're not still being tracked. Damien guided her toward a department store entrance. Inside. We need to put distance between us and that parking garage. The store was massive. 3 floors of clothing, cosmetics, home goods. Damien led Nora through the maze of displays with the confidence of someone who'd planned escape routes from worse situations. They took an escalator up, then another, finally emerging in a section devoted to kitchen appliances where the afternoon crowd thinned to almost nothing. Damien pulled out his phone, sent a rapid series of texts. Responses came back almost immediately. Marcus is bringing another car. 20 minutes. He looked at Nora, really looked at her for the first time since they'd fled the parking garage. You okay? Nora wanted to laugh. Okay? She'd just been chased through Chicago by her abusive ex-boyfriend who also happened to be a dirty cop. Her ribs felt like they were on fire. And she was hiding in a department store with a crime lord who decided to make her survival his personal mission. I'm fantastic, she said flatly. The corner of Damien's mouth twitched, almost a smile. Fair enough. They positioned themselves near a display of espresso machines where they could watch both escalators. Damien's posture was relaxed, casual, but Nora noticed how his eyes never stopped moving, cataloging exits and potential threats with the efficiency of someone who'd survived by staying 3 steps ahead. What happens now? Nora asked quietly. Now we wait. Marcus picks us up, takes us somewhere Grant can't track. Then we figure out our next move. Which is? Damien was quiet for a moment. We had a plan. Get the recording, build the case, take Maddox down legally, but he's escalating faster than I anticipated. That changes things. Changes them how? It means we might not have time to do this the clean way. Nora's stomach twisted. What's the not clean way? Before Damien could answer, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, his expression hardening. Sienna says Grant's in the building, ground floor, near the cosmetics entrance. He's showing your photo to security guards, playing the worried boyfriend angle. Nora's pulse spiked. Can they see us from there? No. But if you get security to check cameras, we've got maybe 5 minutes before they spot us on the feeds. Damien's hand found her elbow again. We need to move. They took a back stairwell this time, one marked employees only that Damien accessed with another of those credit card tools Sienna had used. The stairs were narrow, industrial, nothing like the carpeted elegance of the main store. They descended quickly, Nora biting back gasps of pain with every jarring step. 2 floors down, Damien's phone buzzed again. He stopped so abruptly Nora nearly crashed into him. What? Security's checking cameras. They've got us on the 3rd floor. Damien's voice was tight, controlled. We can't go out the main exits. They'll be watching for us. Then where? Loading dock, back of the building. He started moving again, faster now. Marcus is already repositioning. They hit the ground floor and emerged into a service corridor that smelled like cardboard and cleaning supplies. Damien moved with absolute certainty, like he'd memorized the building's layout before they'd ever walked in. Maybe he had. Nora was learning that Damien Vale didn't do anything without a backup plan. The loading dock was exactly where he'd said it would be. A concrete platform with 3 bay doors, 2 of them open to the afternoon air. A delivery truck idled at one bay, workers unloading boxes with the bored efficiency of people who'd done this 1,000 times. Damien pulled Nora into the shadow of a support pillar, his body blocking her from view of the workers. Marcus is 30 seconds out. Black SUV, same as before. When I say go, we walk, not run, to the vehicle and get in. Understood? Nora nodded, her heart hammering so hard she was sure everyone within 50 feet could hear it. Damien's phone buzzed one final time. He glanced at it, then at the street beyond the loading dock. Go. They walked across the loading platform with the casual confidence of people who belonged there. The workers barely glanced at them. The black SUV pulled up exactly as they reached the curb, rear door already open. Nora climbed in, Damien right behind her, and Marcus was pulling away before the door fully closed. Everyone in one piece? Marcus asked, his eyes on the rearview mirror. For now, Damien said. Sienna? Already back at base. She's wiping the sedan's GPS history, making sure Maddox can't track where we've been. Marcus took a corner with the same controlled aggression Damien drove with. We've got a problem, though. Just one? Maddox put out a bolo. Be on the lookout. Says Nora's a missing person, possibly in danger, possibly not in her right mind. Every cop in Chicago's going to be watching for her. Nora felt sick. He's making me sound unstable. That's exactly what he's doing, Damien said. If he finds you now, he can claim he was trying to help. Get you committed for psychiatric evaluation. Keep you locked up somewhere he controls until he figures out how to neutralize the threat you pose. Can he actually do that? He's a decorated detective with a year's worth of evidence that you're in a relationship with him. Yeah, he can do that. Damien's voice was grim. Which means we can't let him find you. Marcus took them through parts of Chicago Nora had never seen. Industrial areas giving way to residential neighborhoods that looked like they'd been forgotten by the city decades ago. Finally, they pulled into a garage attached to a building that might have been a warehouse once but had clearly been converted into something else. Safe house, Marcus explained, killing the engine. Off the grid, no connection to Vale's main operations. Maddox won't think to look here. Inside, the building was surprisingly comfortable, furnished like an apartment with a kitchen, living area, and what looked like 2 bedrooms. Sienna was already there, her laptop open on the kitchen counter, 3 monitors set up displaying feeds Nora couldn't interpret. Audio from the coffee shop is backed up in 6 different locations, Sienna said without looking up. Even if Maddox somehow finds and destroys 1 copy, we've got 5 more. The recording's solid, admissible in court if we go that route. If, Nora repeated. You're still not sure we will? Damien and Sienna exchanged a look that made Nora's stomach drop. Courts take time, Damien said carefully. Investigations, trials, appeals. And the whole time, Maddox is free. Free to come after you, free to use his connections to make evidence disappear or witnesses recant. The legal system isn't designed to protect people like you from people like him. So what are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we have options beyond the courts. Nora looked between them, Damien with his cold calculation, Sienna with her focused intensity, Marcus standing by the door like a sentinel. These weren't people who waited for justice to be served. They were people who served it themselves. You're talking about killing him, Nora said quietly. I'm talking about making sure he's never a threat to you again. Damien's voice was steady, unflinching. However that needs to happen. Nora's hands were shaking. She'd wanted Grant to pay. She'd wanted him to suffer consequences for what he'd done to her, for what he'd done to countless others. But standing here, listening to Damien calmly discuss murder like it was just another tactical option, made everything feel terrifyingly real. I need to think, she whispered. You've got time, Damien said. Not much, but some. Maddox is scrambling right now, trying to figure out where you went. That gives us a window. How long? 24 hours? Maybe 48 if we're lucky. Damien moved to the window, looking out at the street below. After that, he'll have mobilized every resource he has, and then things get much more complicated. Sienna's laptop chimed. She pulled up a new window, frowned. We've got movement on Maddox's financials. He just withdrew $50,000 in cash. Hiring muscle, Marcus said immediately. That'd be my guess. Sienna's fingers flew across the keyboard. He's also made calls to 3 known associates in the last hour, putting out feelers, seeing who's willing to help him find his missing girlfriend. Damien's expression was unreadable. Who answered? 2 ignored him. 1 called back. Sienna pulled up a photo, a man in his 40s, hard-faced, with the look of someone who'd spent time on both sides of the law. Viktor Kozlov, Russian mob, mid-level enforcer. He and Maddox have worked together before. Worked together how? Nora asked. Maddox feeds him information. Kozlov pays him. Standard corruption. Sienna minimized the photo. But if Kozlov's helping Maddox look for you, it means this isn't just about a cop trying to find his girlfriend anymore. It means Maddox is bringing in outside help. Which means he's desperate, Marcus added. Desperate people make mistakes. Or they get dangerous. Damien turned from the window. Either way, we need to move faster than planned. Nora, you said you knew about Maddox's home office, the locked drawer. Nora nodded slowly. He kept files there. I never saw what was in them, but he was paranoid about that drawer. Checked it every night before bed. That's where the real evidence will be. Financial records, contact lists, maybe even backup documentation of his deals. Damien's eyes were hard, calculating. We need what's in that drawer. You want to break into Grant's apartment? Nora's voice rose. While he's looking for me? While he's distracted looking for you. There's a difference. Damien pulled up a chair, sat across from her. Think about it. Right now, Maddox is focused on finding you. He's got his people watching hospitals, bus stations, your friends' houses. He's not thinking about his apartment because he doesn't know we know about the drawer. He'll have security, Nora protested. Cameras, locks, which we can bypass. Sienna's voice was confident. I've got the building security specs already. 2 cameras in the hallway, standard deadbolt and chain on the door. Nothing we can't handle. Nora wanted to argue, wanted to say this was insane, that breaking into a cop's apartment was a suicide mission, but she remembered what was at stake. Her freedom. Her life. The lives of everyone else Grant had hurt or would hurt if he stayed in power. When? She asked. Tonight, Damien said, while Maddox is still scrambling, while he thinks we're running scared. We get in, get what we need, get out. By the time he realizes what happened, we're already gone. And if he comes home while we're there? Damien's smile was cold. Then we improvise. The plan was laid out with military precision. Marcus would stay with Nora at the safe house while Damien and Sienna handled the break-in. They'd go in around 3 a.m. when the building was quietest, when Grant was least likely to return. Sienna would handle the electronics, Damien would crack the drawer, and they'd be out in under 15 minutes. Nora hated it, hated being left behind, hated feeling useless, but she also knew her ribs made her a liability, that she'd slow them down when speed was essential. So she waited. The hours crawled past with agonizing slowness. Marcus made food that Nora barely tasted. Sienna ran through the security specs one more time, then a third time, until even she seemed satisfied. Damien disappeared into one of the bedrooms and emerged wearing black tactical gear that made him look like he was preparing for war. Maybe he was. At 2:30 a.m., Damien and Sienna geared up. Nora watched them check weapons she hadn't known they were carrying, test communication devices, go through a series of hand signals that looked like a language all their own. Stay with Marcus, Damien told Nora. Don't open the door for anyone. Don't answer any calls from numbers you don't recognize. And if something goes wrong, nothing's going wrong, Sienna interrupted. We've done this 100 times. If something goes wrong, Damien continued, his eyes locked on Nora's. Marcus gets you out of Chicago. Tonight. You don't look back. Nora wanted to argue, wanted to insist she wouldn't leave without them, but the look in Damien's eyes told her this wasn't up for debate. Okay, she whispered. Damien held her gaze for one more moment, then turned and walked out. Sienna followed, and then Nora was alone with Marcus in a safe house that suddenly felt very empty. Marcus settled into a chair by the window, his weapon visible but not threatening. They'll be fine. Damien's been doing this since before you and I were born. Nora didn't answer. She moved to the couch, curled up despite the protest from her ribs, and watched the clock on the wall tick away minutes that felt like hours. 3 a.m. came and went, then 3:15, 3:30. At 3:40, Marcus's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, frowned. What? Nora asked immediately. They're in. No problem so far. Marcus set the phone down. Relax, this is the easy part. But Nora couldn't relax. Because she knew Grant, knew how he thought, and she knew that if he'd set a trap, this was exactly when it would spring. At 3:55, Marcus's phone rang. He answered immediately. Talk to me. His expression changed, hardening into something dangerous. How many? A pause. Get out! Now! He ended the call, was on his feet in an instant. We need to move. Nora's heart stopped. What happened? Maddox came home early, and he didn't come alone. Marcus grabbed a go bag from the closet, tossed Nora a jacket. We've got maybe 5 minutes before they realize we're here. How would they know? Because Maddox isn't stupid. He probably figured we'd come for the files eventually,
Looks like he was waiting for us. Marcus opened the door, checked the hallway. Come on, out the back. They moved fast through corridors Nora barely registered. Behind them, she heard voices, men's voices, angry and getting closer. Marcus took them down a fire escape that rattled ominously, through an alley that smelled like garbage and wet concrete, finally emerging onto a street where a nondescript sedan waited with the engine running. Damien was behind the wheel. Sienna rode shotgun, her laptop balanced on her knees. Both looked furious. Nora and Marcus piled into the back seat. The car was moving before the doors fully closed. "What the hell happened?" Marcus demanded. "Ambush," Damien said tersely. "Maddox had 3 men waiting in the apartment. We barely got out." "Did you get the files?" Sienna held up a flash drive. "Most of them, but they know we were there, and they know what we were after." Nora's throat was tight with fear. "So now what?" Damien's eyes found hers in the rear-view mirror, and what she saw there made her blood run cold. "Now," he said quietly, "the gloves come off." The declaration hung in the air like a death sentence. Nora didn't ask what it meant. She didn't need to. She could see it in the set of Damien's jaw, the fury in Sienna's eyes, the way Marcus checked his weapon with the practiced efficiency of someone preparing for battle. Grant had escalated, and now Damien was going to match him. The safe house was no longer safe, so they drove. Through empty streets, past buildings dark and silent, while Sienna worked her laptop and Damien made calls in a language Nora didn't understand. Finally, they pulled into another garage, this one attached to what looked like an abandoned factory. Inside was anything but abandoned. Men Nora didn't recognize moved through the space with purpose, carrying equipment and weapons that made her stomach turn. This wasn't a safe house. This was a staging area. Damien led them to an office in the back, sparse, functional, with maps of Chicago spread across a table that looked like it had seen strategy sessions before. "Here's where we stand," he said without preamble. "Maddox knows we have his files. He knows we have evidence, and he knows that if we go public, his career and his life are over, so he's going to come after us with everything he has." "Let him come," Marcus said grimly. "Oh, he will. The question is whether we wait for him or go on the offensive." Damien looked at Nora. "This is your call. We can still run. Get you out of the city, out of the state, set you up somewhere Maddox will never find you. You'll be safe." "But he'll still be out there," Nora said quietly. "Still hurting people. Still getting away with it." "Yes." "Then I'm not running." Nora's voice was steady, certain. "I'm done running." Damien nodded slowly. "Then we fight. But you need to understand what that means. Maddox has the entire Chicago PD at his disposal. He has connections, money, men who'll do whatever he asks. Taking him down means going to war with all of that." "I understand." "Do you?" Sienna leaned forward. "Because once this starts, there's no backing out. People are going to get hurt, maybe killed, and when it's over, nothing goes back to the way it was." Nora thought about the woman she'd been a week ago, the nurse who'd apologized for making her boyfriend angry, who'd believed love could fix what was broken. That woman was dead, killed in a locked bathroom with broken ribs and a phone in her shaking hands. The woman who'd survived was someone different, someone harder, someone who'd looked into the abyss and decided to stare back. "I'm not asking for things to go back to the way they were," Nora said. "I'm asking for justice, real justice. Not the kind that lets men like Grant hide behind badges and lies." Damien's expression shifted, respect mixing with something that might have been admiration. "All right then, we do this my way. Fast, brutal, and final. Agreed?" "Agreed." "Good." Damien turned to the map spread across the table. "Then let's end this." The war began at midnight. Damien's plan was elegant in its brutality. Expose Grant's corruption to everyone who mattered, all at once.
before he could spin the narrative or disappear into protective custody. The flash drive Sienna had salvaged contained enough evidence to bury Grant 10 times over, but evidence meant nothing if it never saw daylight. So they were going to make sure it did. "We hit 3 targets simultaneously," Damien explained, his finger tracing routes on the map. "Grant's precinct captain, the district attorney, and the local news stations. We deliver the files, the recordings, everything we have. By the time Grant realizes what's happening, it'll be too late to stop." "He'll run," Marcus said. "Let him. We'll be ready." Damien looked at Sienna. "You've got the digital trail covered? Every account, every transaction, every dirty deal documented and time-stamped. I've also got the recording from the coffee shop synchronized with his phone records. Proves he was threatening Nora at the exact time and location she says." Sienna's smile was sharp. His lawyers won't be able to explain this away. Nora watched them work with a strange sense of detachment. These people had known her for less than a week, yet they were preparing to go to war on her behalf. It should have felt wrong, should have felt like she was using them, but all she felt was a cold, focused determination to see this through. "What do you need me to do?" she asked. Damien looked up from the maps. "You stay here, protected, safe." "Like hell I do." Nora's voice was steel. "You said this was my fight. I'm not sitting on the sidelines while you finish it." "Nora, no. You don't get to make that choice for me." She moved to the table, planted her hands on the edge. "I've spent a year letting Grant control my life. I'm not handing that power to someone else, even if your intentions are good." Damien studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "Fine. But you follow orders. No heroics, no improvising. Understood?" "Understood." "Good. Then you're with me." Damien traced a route on the map. "We're delivering the evidence to the DA personally. She's tough, honest, and she's been trying to nail dirty cops for years. This is exactly the kind of case she lives for. And if Grant finds out we're there, then we deal with it." Damien's expression was unreadable, one way or another. They spent the next 2 hours preparing. Sienna made copies of copies, storing evidence in cloud servers across 3 continents. Marcus coordinated with people Nora never met, voices on phones and encrypted messages that confirmed teams were in position. Damien reviewed every detail until he was satisfied nothing had been overlooked. At 11:30, they loaded into 3 separate vehicles. Marcus took the precinct captain. Sienna took the news stations. Damien and Nora took the DA. The drive through Chicago's empty streets felt surreal. Nora sat in the passenger seat of Damien's SUV, watching the city slide past in a blur of streetlights and shadows. Her ribs still ached, a constant reminder of how this had started. But the fear that had lived in her chest for months was gone, replaced by something harder and colder. "You're quiet," Damien said. "I'm thinking." "About?" "About what happens after, when this is over." Nora looked at him. "You've put everything on the line for me. Your resources, your people. Why?" Damien was quiet for so long Nora thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "I told you about my sister, Elena. You said she needed help and you didn't answer. She was being abused by her boyfriend. I didn't know, she hid it well. But she sent me a text from that number, the one you used. She said she needed me." Damien's hands tightened on the wheel. "I was in a meeting, important business deal, something that couldn't wait. So I didn't answer. I told myself I'd call her back in an hour." Nora's throat was tight. "What happened?" "She died 30 minutes later. He beat her to death in their apartment, and by the time someone found her, it was too late." Damien's voice was flat, emotionless. "I kept that phone line active because it was the last connection I had to her, and because I never wanted to miss another call like that. I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry. Just understand, this isn't charity. This is me making a different choice than I made 6 years ago.
This is me answering the call." They pulled up outside the Cook County State's Attorney's office, a granite building that looked like it had been designed to intimidate. The streets were empty, the building dark except for a few lit windows on the upper floors where someone was clearly working late. Damien killed the engine. District Attorney Carmen Rodriguez works late most nights. Divorced, no kids, married to her job. She's probably up there right now working on tomorrow's cases. How do we get in? We walk through the front door. Damien pulled out his phone, dialed a number. It rang 3 times before someone answered. Rodriguez? Counselor, this is Damien Vale. I have something you're going to want to see. There was a long pause. Vale, I've been trying to build a case against you for 2 years. I know. This isn't about me. This is about a dirty cop who's been running protection rackets under your nose. Damien's voice was calm, conversational. I'm outside your building with evidence that'll make your career. You want it or not? Another pause. Come up. Alone. I'm bringing someone with me, the victim. She's the one who exposed him. Fine. But Vale, if this is some kind of setup, it's not. You'll see. Damien ended the call, looked at Nora. Ready? Nora nodded, her heart hammering. They walked through the building's front entrance where a security guard waved them through after checking Damien's ID. The elevator ride to the 7th floor felt like it took an eternity. When the doors opened, Carmen Rodriguez was waiting. She was in her 50s, Latina, with sharp eyes that missed nothing, and an expression that suggested she'd heard every lie ever told. She looked Damien up and down, then turned her attention to Nora. You're the victim? Nora Hale. And yes, Carmen's expression softened slightly. Come in. Let's see what you've got. Her office was exactly what Nora expected, cluttered with case files, law books lining every wall, a desk that looked like it had weathered decades of late nights and hard decisions. Carmen gestured to chairs, but neither Damien nor Nora sat. Damien pulled out the flash drive, set it on her desk. Everything you need is here. Financial records proving Detective Grant Maddox has been taking payments from organized crime for 5 years. Surveillance footage of him meeting with known criminals. Recorded conversations where he admits to providing information in exchange for money. And a recording from yesterday where he threatens his ex-girlfriend, he gestured to Nora, for trying to leave him after he put her in the hospital. Carmen picked up the flash drive, turned it over in her hands. This better not be fabricated. It's not. You can verify every piece of it. Damien's voice was hard. Maddox is dirty. He's been operating under your office's radar for years, and he's dangerous. Carmen looked at Nora. Tell me what happened. So Nora did. She told the DA about Grant's abuse, about the locked bathroom and broken ribs, about the coffee shop meeting where Grant had threatened her. She told her about the files in Grant's apartment, about the money and the meetings, and the careful way Grant had built an empire while hiding behind his badge. Carmen listened without interrupting, her expression growing darker with every word. When Nora finished, Carmen turned to her computer, plugged in the flash drive. For the next 20 minutes, she reviewed files in silence while Damien and Nora waited. Finally, she sat back. This is enough to arrest him. Tonight. Carmen's voice was cold with fury. This is enough to end his career and put him in prison for the rest of his life. Then do it, Damien said. I will, but I need to know, how did you get this evidence? Some of these files look like they came from secure locations. Does it matter? It will in court. Defense will argue illegal search and seizure, fruit of the poisonous tree. I need to know what I'm working with. Damien exchanged a look with Nora. Then he said, the victim obtained some of it while living with the suspect. She had access to his home, his files. The rest came from my own surveillance of Maddox's criminal activities. Your surveillance? As part of what, exactly? As part of my efforts to protect my business interests from corrupt law enforcement. Damien's smile was cold. I'm sure you can appreciate the irony. Carmen stared at him for a long moment.
You're confessing to conducting unauthorized surveillance on a police officer. I'm providing you with evidence of corruption. What you do with that evidence is up to you. If I use this in court, you'll win. The recordings alone are damning. Add the financial records, the surveillance, and witness testimony, Damien gestured to Nora, and Maddox doesn't have a defense. Carmen looked between them, clearly weighing options. Finally, she nodded. I'll issue a warrant. Tonight. But Maddox is a cop. He'll have friends who'll warn him. He might run. Let him try. Damien's voice was quiet, dangerous. I'll find him. Carmen's eyes narrowed. That sounded like a threat. It's a promise. Maddox hurt someone under my protection. That doesn't stand. Vale, I'm not going to kill him, counselor. I'm just going to make sure he faces justice, whatever form that takes. The words hung in the air like a blade. Carmen stared at Damien, then at Nora, and something in her expression shifted. You really love this woman, she said quietly. Or you wouldn't be here. Damien didn't answer, didn't need to. Carmen stood. All right. I'll move on this immediately. But you two need to leave. If Maddox has friends in the department, and he definitely does, word will spread fast. You need to be somewhere safe when he finds out. We will be. Damien turned to leave, then stopped. One more thing. Maddox put out a bolo on Nora, claiming she's unstable and in danger. You'll want to rescind that before you arrest him. Otherwise, his lawyers will claim he was acting out of concern for her well-being. Already planning on it. Carmen's smile was sharp. Go. I'll take it from here. They left her office and took the elevator back down in silence. Nora's mind was spinning. They'd done it. They'd delivered the evidence. In a matter of hours, maybe less, Grant would be arrested. It should have felt like victory. But as they stepped out into the cool Chicago night, Nora couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Damien's phone rang before they reached the SUV. He answered, listened, and his expression went cold. When? A pause. How many? Another pause. Fall back, regroup at the secondary location. He ended the call, looked at Nora. We need to move, now. What happened? Grant found the factory. He's attacking it with everything he has. Damien's voice was tight, controlled. Marcus and Sienna are pulling out, but we've got men there. This is going to get bloody. Nora's blood ran cold. He knows where we were? He knows where we were, not where we are now. Damien unlocked the SUV, gestured for Nora to get in. But he's escalating faster than I thought possible. He's not just running, he's going to war. They pulled away from the curb just as Damien's phone rang again. This time it was Sienna. Talk to me, Damien said, putting it on speaker. Maddox didn't just hit the factory, he hit our safe houses, all of them. Sienna's voice was strained. He's got at least a dozen men, maybe more. Some of them are cops, Damien. He's using active-duty police officers. Christ, Damien's hands tightened on the wheel. Casualties? 3 of ours wounded, none dead yet. But if he keeps pushing, he won't. Rodriguez is issuing a warrant as we speak. Once that goes public, his cop friends will scatter. No one's going to risk their career for him. That's assuming the warrant goes out before he finds us. Sienna's voice was grim. He's hunting, Damien, and he's good at it. Where are you? Heading to the backup location. Marcus is with me. Where are you? Mobile, Lambile. We delivered the evidence to Rodriguez. She's moving on it now. Good. Get to the backup location. We'll regroup there. The call ended. Damien drove in silence for several blocks before speaking. I underestimated him, he said quietly. I thought he'd run when he realized we had the evidence. Instead, he's trying to burn down everything we've built before the warrant hits. He's desperate, Nora said. Desperate people do insane things. Desperate people get themselves killed. Damien took a turn that put them on the highway heading north. But they take others with them first. They drove for 20 minutes, leaving the city behind for suburbs that gradually thinned into industrial parks and scattered warehouses. Finally, Damien pulled into a complex that looked abandoned but clearly wasn't. Lights showed in windows. Vehicles lined the parking area. Men with weapons moved between buildings with the efficiency of soldiers. This wasn't a safe house. This was a fortress. Marcus met them at the entrance, his expression grim. Sienna's inside. We've got 13 people here, all armed, all loyal. Maddox comes at us here. He's walking into a meat grinder. He won't come at us directly, Damien said. He's smarter than that. He'll try to draw us out. Or wait us out, Sienna added, appearing from inside. He knows we can't stay hidden forever. Eventually we have to surface, and when we do... Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her face went pale. What? Damien demanded. Rodriguez. The warrant's been denied. The words hit like a physical blow. Nora felt her stomach drop. That's impossible, Damien said. We gave her everything. Apparently it's not enough. Judge said the evidence was obtained illegally, that it's inadmissible without proper chain of custody. Sienna's voice was tight with fury. Someone got to him, someone with enough influence to kill the warrant before it ever went public. Maddox, Nora whispered. Or someone protecting Maddox, someone higher up the chain who doesn't want this investigation to happen. Damien's expression was carved from ice, which means we can't rely on the legal system. Not anymore. So what do we do? Nora asked. Damien looked at her, and what she saw in his eyes made her breath catch. We finish this ourselves. The words were a declaration of war. Around them, Damien's people checked weapons, reviewed positions, prepared for a fight that now felt inevitable. Nora stood in the middle of it all, her mind reeling. Grant had corrupted the system so thoroughly that even with evidence, even with recordings and witnesses, he could make it all disappear. He'd bought judges, intimidated officials, built a network of protection that extended far beyond anything Nora had imagined. And now Damien was going to tear it all down. I need you to understand something, Damien said quietly, pulling Nora aside. What happens next? It's not legal. It's not clean. And you can't be part of it. You said this was my fight. It was. It is. But what I'm about to do, you can't have that on your conscience. Damien's voice was gentle, almost kind. You're a nurse. You save lives. Let me be the one who ends them. Nora wanted to argue, wanted to insist she could handle it, that she was strong enough. But looking into Damien's eyes, seeing the cold resolve there, she understood. He was protecting her, not from Grant, from herself. What will you do? She whispered. What I should have done the first time Maddox crossed my territory. I'm going to make him pay for every life he's ruined, every person he's hurt. And when I'm done, there won't be enough left of his empire to threaten anyone ever again. And Grant? Damien's smile was colder than winter. Grant's mine. Before Nora could respond, alarms started blaring throughout the complex. Red lights flashed. Men moved to positions with practiced speed. Marcus appeared at a run. Vehicles approaching, multiple angles. It's Maddox. Damien's expression didn't change. How many? At least 20, maybe more. He brought an army. Then we'll give him a war. Damien looked at Nora one last time. Marcus, get her to the secured room. Lock it down. She doesn't come out until this is over. Damien, no arguments, not about this. His hand cupped her face, surprisingly gentle. I promise to keep you safe. Let me keep that promise. Then he was moving, shouting orders, coordinating defense while chaos erupted around them. Marcus grabbed Nora's arm, pulled her toward an interior building while gunfire erupted in the distance. Come on, he urged. We need to move. Nora let herself be pulled along, her mind screaming protests even as her body obeyed. They reached a reinforced door. Marcus punched in a code, and they were inside a room that looked like a bunker. Thick walls, no windows, supplies stacked against one wall. You stay here, Marcus said. No matter what you hear, no matter what happens, you stay locked in until someone comes for you. Understood? Nora nodded numbly. Marcus paused at the door. He cares about you, Vale. More than he'd ever admit. So let him fight for you. Then he was gone, the door sealing behind him with a heavy thunk that sounded like a coffin closing. Nora sank to the floor, her back against the wall, and listened to the war rage outside. Gunfire, shouting, explosions that shook the walls. The battle lasted 20 minutes that felt like 20 hours. Nora counted every shot, every scream, every moment of silence that might mean someone had died. She thought about Grant out there somewhere, leading his army of dirty cops and hired criminals, trying to kill his way to her. She thought about Damien fighting to protect her, risking everything for a woman he'd known less than a week. She thought about the recording that should have been enough, the evidence that should have stopped all this, and the corruption that ran so deep even the courts couldn't be trusted. And she thought about who she'd been before all this started. That woman was dead. Had died in a locked bathroom with broken ribs and a phone in her shaking hands. The woman who'd survived was someone new, someone harder, someone who understood that sometimes justice didn't come from courts and laws. Sometimes it came from people like Damien Vale, who operated in the shadows and made their own rules. The gunfire stopped. The silence that followed was somehow worse. Nora waited, her heart hammering, counting seconds that stretched into minutes. Then she heard footsteps outside the door. Heavy, purposeful. The code beeped. The door swung open. Damien stood there, covered in blood that might have been his or someone else's. His eyes found Nora immediately, scanning her for injuries. "You're okay," he said. Not a question, a statement of fact. "I'm okay. You?" "I'm fine." Damien extended a hand, helped her to her feet. "It's over." "Grant?" "Alive. For now. We have him." Nora's breath caught. "Where?" "Come on, I'll show you." He led her through the complex, past damage from the battle, bullet holes in walls, broken windows, debris scattered everywhere. Men were treating wounded, securing prisoners, cleaning up the carnage. Sienna stood near the entrance, directing operations with calm efficiency, despite a cut above her eye that had bled down her face. They walked to the far building, where Marcus stood guard outside a door. "He's inside," Marcus said quietly. "Been asking for you, Nora. Keep saying you'll forgive him, that you'll make this stop." Nora's hands clenched into fists. Damien looked at her. "You don't have to see him. You don't owe him anything." "I know, but I want to." Nora met his eyes. "I need to." Damien nodded slowly. "Then I'm coming with you." They entered together. Grant sat in a chair in the middle of an empty room, his hands secured behind his back, blood on his face from a split lip. He looked up when Nora entered, and his expression transformed into something that might have been relief if she didn't know better. "Nora, thank God. Tell them to let me go. Tell them this is all a misunderstanding." Nora stared at the man who'd broken her ribs, locked her in a bathroom, spent a year breaking her spirit piece by piece. And she felt nothing. No fear, no anger, just cold, perfect clarity. "No," she said quietly. Grant's expression shifted. "Nora, please. I love you. Whatever they've told you, they told me the truth. About the money, the corruption, all of it. And I saw the evidence myself." Nora took a step closer. "You're exactly who they said you were. A dirty cop who hurt people for profit, and you made the mistake of thinking I'd never fight back. I never hurt you, not on purpose. And everything I did, the money, all of it, I did it for us, to give us a better life. You did it for yourself, and you destroyed lives doing it." Nora's voice was steady, unflinching. "I came here to tell you one thing. You don't get to hurt me anymore. You don't get to hurt anyone anymore. Whatever happens to you now, you earned it." Grant's facade finally cracked completely. You ungrateful bitch. I gave you everything. You gave me nothing but pain. Nora turned to Damien. I'm done here. They walked out together, leaving Grant screaming threats and promises behind them. Nora didn't look back. Outside, dawn was breaking over Chicago. The first light touched the horizon, turning the sky from black to gray to gold. Nora stood watching it, feeling something inside her chest finally settle. What happens to him now? She asked quietly. Rodriguez still wants to prosecute, even without the warrant. She's building a new case, one that'll hold up in court. Damien stood beside her, his presence solid and reassuring. But that'll take time. In the meantime, Grant's going somewhere he can't hurt anyone, somewhere his connections can't reach him. Where? Somewhere off the grid. Somewhere he'll have a lot of time to think about what he's done. Damien's smile was cold. By the time he surfaces again, if he surfaces, his whole empire will be dismantled. Every dirty cop he worked with will be exposed. Every criminal he protected will be arrested. He'll have nothing and no one. It should have felt like victory. It should have felt like justice. Instead, it just felt like the end. What about me? Nora asked. What happens to me now? Damien was quiet for a long moment. That's up to you. You want to disappear, I can make that happen. New identity, new city, fresh start. Or you stay. Build a new life here, one where you're not looking over your shoulder. And you? What do you want? Damien looked at her, and for the first time since she'd met him, his expression was uncertain, vulnerable. I want you to be safe and happy, however that looks. Nora thought about the woman she'd been, the one who'd believed love meant accepting pain. Who'd thought she deserved what Grant did to her, who'd spent a year getting smaller and smaller until she almost disappeared. That woman was gone forever. The woman standing here now, the one who'd sent a text to a wrong number and changed everything, she was someone new, someone who understood that survival sometimes meant fighting, that safety sometimes came from dangerous people with good intentions, that justice didn't always look the way she'd expected. I'm staying, Nora said, not because I'm running from Grant or hiding from the past. I'm staying because this is where I want to be. Damien's expression softened. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. They stood together watching the sun rise, two survivors who'd found each other through a wrong number and a desperate plea for help. The war was over. Grant would face justice, and Nora had her life back, not the life she'd had before. That was gone, burned away in the fire of survival. But a new life, one she'd built herself, one where she was strong enough to stand on her own, brave enough to fight back, and wise enough to know the difference between people who hurt and people who protect. The wrong number that should have been a mistake had become the right connection. And Nora Hale, broken, battered, but undefeated, was finally, truly free. The sunrise lasted only moments before reality crashed back in. Sienna appeared in the doorway, her expression grim despite the victory. We've got a problem. Rodriguez just called. Someone leaked the attack to the media. Every news station in Chicago is running footage of the firefight, and they're identifying you by name, Damien. Federal authorities are already asking questions. Damien's jaw tightened. How bad? Bad enough that laying low isn't an option anymore. FBI's involved. They want answers about what happened here. Why a known organized crime figure engaged in a shooting war with Chicago police officers. Sienna's eyes flicked to Nora. And they want to talk to her. The mysterious girlfriend who started all this. Nora's stomach dropped. They think I'm part of your organization? They think you're a witness or an accomplice. Hard to say which. Sienna pulled up her phone, showed them news footage of the battle. Shaky camera work, muzzle flashes lighting up the darkness, emergency vehicles swarming the area. This went public 20 minutes ago. By noon, every federal agency in the region will be crawling over this place. Damien turned to Marcus. Start cleanup. I want every weapon accounted for. Every man who was here tonight either gone or ready with an airtight alibi. We're going full legal on this." "Full legal?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Boss, we just fought off 24 dirty cops and hired guns. There's no legal spin for that." "There is if we were defending ourselves. Maddox attacked us. We have recordings of his threats, evidence of his corruption, and witnesses who can testify he came here with lethal intent." Damien's voice was cold, calculated. "Rodriguez wanted a case? We just gave her one that's impossible to ignore." Nora watched him shift into strategy mode, his mind already 3 steps ahead. This was who Damien Vale really was. Not just a crime lord, but a tactician who understood that survival meant controlling the narrative. "What about Grant?" she asked. "Grant's our ace. We turn him over to the FBI with all his files, all his dirty deals, everything. He becomes the story instead of us." Damien looked at Sienna. "Can you make that happen?" "Already working on it. I've got copies of everything we took from his apartment, plus the recordings, financial records, all of it. FBI gets a complete package that proves Maddox is corrupt, and we were trying to expose him." Sienna's fingers flew across her phone. But Nora needs to tell her side. The abuse, the escape, everything that led to this. She needs to be sympathetic. "I'm not using my trauma as a PR strategy," Nora said sharply. "It's not PR. It's the truth." Sienna met her eyes. "You were a victim who escaped an abusive cop. You came to us for protection. When Maddox attacked trying to silence you, we defended ourselves. That's not a crime. That's survival." Damien moved closer to Nora, his voice gentle. "She's right. The truth is our best weapon here. But you don't have to do this if you're not ready." Nora thought about Grant locked in that room, still believing he could manipulate his way out. She thought about all the women he'd hurt before her, all the criminals he'd protected, all the lives he'd destroyed while hiding behind his badge. If telling her story meant he finally faced consequences, then it was worth it. "I'll do it," she said, "but on my terms. I talk to the FBI, I tell them everything, but I'm not being paraded in front of cameras like some helpless victim. I survived. I fought back. That's the story." Damien's expression softened into something that might have been pride. "Then that's the story we tell." The next 6 hours were a whirlwind of preparation. Lawyers arrived, expensive ones who dealt with federal cases and knew how to navigate the line between legal and illegal. They coached Nora on what to say, how to say it, what details mattered, and which ones could be omitted without lying. They built a timeline that was factual but strategic, one that painted Damien as a protector and Grant as a threat. By 10 a.m., the FBI arrived. Special Agent Sarah Chen was in her 40s, sharp-eyed and skeptical in the way of someone who'd heard every lie ever told. She sat across from Nora in a conference room that had been hastily converted from a storage space, a recording device on the table between them. "Ms. Hale, thank you for agreeing to speak with me." Agent Chen's voice was professional, neutral. "I need to ask you about the events of the past week, starting with why you left your apartment in the middle of the night 7 days ago." Nora took a breath and began. She told Agent Chen everything: Grant's abuse, the locked bathroom, the text to the wrong number. She explained how Damien had answered, how he'd come to get her, how he'd provided medical care and protection when she had nowhere else to turn. She described the coffee shop meeting, the recording, Grant's escalating violence. "So Mr. Vale kidnapped you?" Agent Chen asked. "No, he saved me." "There's a difference." Nora's voice was steady. "I asked for help. He provided it. Everything that happened after that was my choice." "Including participating in breaking into Detective Maddox's apartment?" "I didn't participate. Damien's people went there to get evidence of Grant's corruption. I stayed behind because my injuries made me a liability." Nora met Agent Chen's eyes. "But yes, I knew they were going, and I'm glad they did because what they found proves Grant is exactly what I said he was." Agent Chen made notes, her expression unreadable. You're aware that Mr. Vale has significant criminal connections? I'm aware he operates outside the law. I'm also aware that when I needed help, the law failed me. Grant was a police officer. He had connections, power, the entire system on his side. Who was I supposed to turn to? The police department that employed him? The courts that would take months or years to act while he hunted me down? Nora's voice hardened. Damien gave me protection when no one else would. That's not a crime. It is if he used illegal methods to obtain evidence. And it's not if a dirty cop tried to murder witnesses to his corruption. Nora leaned forward. Grant attacked us last night with 24 men, some of them active police officers. We have recordings of his threats. We have evidence he was planning to kill me to keep me quiet. Everything Damien did was in self-defense and defense of me. Agent Chen studied her for a long moment. You care about him. Vale. It wasn't a question, but Nora answered anyway. He risked everything to keep me safe. So yes, I care about him. But that doesn't change the facts. Grant Maddox is corrupt. He's dangerous. And he needs to be stopped. The interview lasted 3 more hours. Agent Chen asked every question from every angle, probing for inconsistencies or lies. But Nora had the advantage of telling the truth, and the truth held up under scrutiny. When it was finally over, Agent Chen turned off the recorder. Off the record? She said quietly. I believe you. I've been investigating police corruption for 12 years, and Maddox fits the profile perfectly. But believing you and proving it in court are 2 different things. We have evidence, Nora said. Evidence obtained illegally, which makes it inadmissible in most cases. I can use it to build a parallel investigation, find legal ways to prove the same things, but that takes time. How much time? Months, maybe longer. Agent Chen's expression was sympathetic. I know that's not what you want to hear, but that's reality. Nora felt something inside her crack. Months of waiting, of looking over her shoulder, of wondering if Grant would find a way to escape justice. She'd survived so much already. She didn't know if she had it in her to survive months more of uncertainty. What about the attack last night? She asked. He came after us with armed men. That's attempted murder. It is, and we're pursuing charges. But Maddox's lawyers are already claiming he was trying to rescue you from kidnappers, that he had reason to believe you were being held against your will. Agent Chen shook her head. It's a weak defense, but it'll buy him time. So he walks free? For now. But Ms. Hale, men like Maddox always make mistakes. They get arrogant, they get sloppy, and when he does, we'll be ready. It wasn't enough. Nora knew it wasn't enough, but it was all the law could offer. She left the conference room to find Damien waiting, his expression tight with controlled tension. How'd it go? He asked. She believes me, but she says prosecuting Grant could take months, maybe longer. Nora's voice was hollow. He's going to walk free while they build a case. Damien's jaw clenched. Not if I have anything to say about it. Damien, I'm not talking about killing him. I'm talking about making sure he can't hurt anyone while the investigation happens. Damien pulled her into a private office, closed the door. Grant's power comes from his connections, his reputation, his ability to operate in the shadows. We take those away. He's just another corrupt cop waiting for trial. How do we take them away? We expose everything, not to the FBI, to the public. We leak the recordings, the financial records, every dirty deal he's ever made. We make him so toxic that none of his connections will touch him. And we make sure everyone knows what he did to you. Nora's chest tightened. That means putting my name out there, my face, everything I've been through. I know, and I won't do it without your permission. But Nora, this is the only way to truly end him. Legal consequences take time. Public consequences are immediate. Damien's voice was gentle but firm. You'll be a hero. The woman who exposed corruption and survived. That's a powerful story. Nora thought about remaining in the shadows, protecting her privacy, keeping her trauma private. It was the safe choice, the easy choice. But nothing about the past week had been safe or easy. "Do it," she said. "Release everything." Damien studied her face. "You're sure?" "I'm sure. Grant spent a year making me feel invisible, like I didn't matter. Time to show him exactly how much I matter." Sienna worked her magic. By noon, the files started dropping. Major news outlets received anonymous packages containing Grant's financial records, recordings of his meetings with criminals, surveillance footage of him accepting payments. And they received Nora's testimony, her recording from the coffee shop, medical records from her broken ribs. The story exploded across Chicago like a bomb. By 2 p.m., Grant's face was on every screen in the city, not as a decorated detective, but as a criminal. News anchors discussed his corruption with barely concealed disgust. Victims of his abuse, women Nora had never met but who shared her story, started coming forward. The narrative shifted from mysterious shootout to righteous exposure. Carmen Rodriguez held a press conference at 3 p.m., announcing that her office was pursuing charges against Detective Grant Maddox for corruption, racketeering, and assault. She stood at the podium with the confidence of someone who knew she'd already won. "Make no mistake," Rodriguez said, her voice ringing with authority. "Detective Maddox betrayed his oath, his badge, and the people of Chicago. We will prosecute him to the fullest extent of the law, and we will ensure that everyone who helped him faces consequences as well." Nora watched the press conference from the safe house, Damien beside her. When it ended, he turned off the television. "It's done," he said quietly. "Grant's finished. Even if the trial takes months, his life as he knew it is over. What happens to him now? Rodriguez will arrest him within the hour. He'll be held without bail given the flight risk and the severity of charges. And while he's locked up, we'll make sure every dirty cop he worked with, every criminal he protected, gets exposed too." Damien's smile was cold. "By the time this is over, there won't be a corner of Chicago where Maddox's name doesn't mean corruption." Nora should have felt relief, should have felt victorious, but all she felt was tired. "I need air," she said. Damien led her to a rooftop terrace she hadn't known existed, a small space with a view of the city stretching endlessly in all directions. The afternoon sun painted everything gold, and for a moment Nora could almost forget the chaos below. "How are you really doing?" Damien asked. Nora leaned against the railing, watching traffic move like blood through arteries. "I don't know. A week ago I was a nurse in an abusive relationship with no way out. Now I'm the face of a corruption scandal, my ex is going to prison, and I'm standing on a roof with a crime lord who saved my life. That's a lot of change, and it's everything." Nora looked at him. "What happens now, with us?" Damien was quiet for a long moment. "What do you want to happen?" "I don't know. I barely know you, but you know more about me than people I've known for years. You've seen me at my worst and you didn't run. You fought for me when you didn't have to." Nora's throat was tight. "I don't know what that means. It means I care about you more than I probably should after a week." Damien's voice was soft, honest in a way she'd rarely heard from him. "But I also know you need time. Time to heal, time to figure out who you are without Grant's shadow hanging over you. I'm not going to rush that." "What if I don't want time? What if I'm tired of waiting for my life to start?" Damien's hand found hers, warm and solid. "Then we take it slow. We figure this out together. No pressure, no expectations. Just two people who found each other in the worst possible way and somehow made it work." Nora turned that over in her mind. The sensible thing would be to walk away, to use Damien's offer of a new identity and disappear. Start fresh somewhere Grant would never find her, somewhere Damien's world wouldn't touch her. But Sensible hadn't kept her safe. Sensible had told her to stay with Grant, to believe his promises, to think love meant accepting pain. Maybe it was time to stop being sensible and start being brave. "I'm staying," Nora said firmly. "Here, in Chicago. With you, if you'll have me. Not because I need protection or because I owe you anything, because I want to. Damien's expression softened into something that might have been hope. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. The woman who sent that text, she was desperate and broken and terrified, but she was also brave enough to ask for help when she needed it. That's who I want to be. Someone who fights for herself, who doesn't back down, who chooses her own path. Nora squeezed his hand. And my path includes you. Damien pulled her close, careful of her still healing ribs, and kissed her forehead with a gentleness that contradicted everything she knew about him. Then we'll figure it out, together. They stood on that rooftop as the sun set over Chicago, two survivors who'd found each other through chaos and emerged stronger for it. The next 3 weeks were a blur of legal proceedings and media attention. Grant was formally arrested, charged with 17 counts of corruption and 3 counts of assault. His lawyers tried every tactic to get him released, but with Rodriguez leading the prosecution and the FBI backing her investigation, bail was denied. More women came forward, not just romantic partners Grant had abused, but witnesses he'd intimidated, victims whose cases he'd buried. The scope of his corruption expanded with every testimony, until it became clear that Grant Maddox had spent his entire career destroying lives. Nora testified before a grand jury, her voice steady as she recounted every detail of her abuse. The jury indicted Grant on additional charges: domestic violence, unlawful imprisonment, witness intimidation. Each new charge was another nail in the coffin Grant had built for himself. Damien's role remained carefully ambiguous. The FBI questioned him extensively about the shootout, but with no evidence he'd fired first and plenty of evidence Grant had attacked him, no charges were filed. Publicly, he became known as the man who'd protected an abuse victim when the system failed her. It wasn't the whole truth, but it was enough of the truth to matter. Nora returned to work at the hospital 6 weeks after everything started. Her supervisor hugged her, told her they'd held her position, that everyone had been worried. Patients recognized her from the news and thanked her for her bravery. It was overwhelming and exhausting and exactly what she needed. Life began to find a new normal. Nora moved into an apartment of her own, not the one she'd shared with Grant, but a new space in a different neighborhood with better locks and neighbors who didn't ask questions. Damien helped her move in, his presence casual and comfortable as they arranged furniture and argued about where the couch should go. You're terrible at interior design, Nora said, laughing as Damien tried to convince her the television should face away from the windows. I'm excellent at interior design. You're just stubborn. His smile was genuine, warm in a way she'd learned meant he was happy. They fell into a rhythm. Dinners at restaurants that didn't ask about their pasts, walks through the city where Nora was learning to feel safe again. Quiet nights where they talked about everything except Grant and the trial and the way their lives had collided. Damien was different away from his empire. Still watchful, still calculating, but softer. He made her laugh. He listened when she needed to talk. He gave her space when she needed to be alone. And slowly, carefully, Nora learned what it felt like to be with someone who treated love like a gift instead of a weapon. The trial began in early spring, 3 months after the night Nora sent that wrong number text. The courtroom was packed with media, victims, police officers who'd worked with Grant and were now scrambling to distance themselves from his crimes. Nora sat in the front row, Damien beside her, and watched as the prosecution systematically destroyed every lie Grant had ever told. The recordings played for the jury. The financial records were entered into evidence. Witness after witness testified about Grant's corruption, his violence, his complete disregard for the law he'd sworn to uphold. Grant's defense team tried to paint him as a dedicated officer who'd made mistakes, who'd been seduced by easy money and lost his way. But the evidence was overwhelming. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Nora felt Damien's hand find hers as the verdict was read. She squeezed back, her chest tight with emotion she couldn't name. Relief, vindication, grief for the time she'd lost, hope for the future she'd reclaimed. Grant was sentenced to 23 years in federal prison. No parole. No second chances. It was over. Nora walked out of that courtroom into spring sunshine, her ribs healed, her spirit stronger than it had ever been. Damien walked beside her, a steady presence in a world that had finally stopped spinning. "How do you feel?" he asked. Nora thought about the question. A few months ago, she would have said fine, would have forced a smile and pretended everything was okay. But she'd learned that honesty was harder and better than pretending. "I feel free," she said. "Really, truly free. For the first time in years." "Good. That's what you deserve." Damien stopped walking, turned to face her. "What do you want to do now? Where do you want to go from here?" Nora looked at him, this dangerous, complicated man who'd answered a desperate text and changed everything. She thought about the life she could build now, the choices that were finally hers to make. "I want to live," she said simply. "Not just survive, but actually live. I want to help other women who are trapped like I was. I want to use what happened to make something good. And I want to do it with you beside me, if you're willing." Damien's smile was genuine, reaching his eyes in a way that made him look younger, lighter. "I'm willing. More than willing. Even though I'm going to push you to do things legally and ethically and all the things that probably drive you crazy. Especially because of that. You make me want to be better than I am." He pulled her close, his voice soft against her hair. "You make me believe people can change." Nora leaned into his embrace, feeling safe in a way she'd thought she'd never feel again. The wrong number that should have been a mistake had become the right connection. The text sent in desperation had led to salvation. She'd survived. She'd fought back. And she'd won. Not just against Grant, but against every voice that had told her she was weak, that she deserved what happened, that she'd never escape. She'd proven all of them wrong. And now, standing in the spring sunshine with Damien's arms around her and her future stretching out bright and full of possibility, Nora understood something fundamental. She hadn't just survived Grant Maddox. She'd become someone stronger, braver, more authentically herself than she'd ever been before. The trauma hadn't broken her. It had forged her into someone who knew her own worth, who refused to settle for less than she deserved, who understood that asking for help wasn't weakness. It was the bravest thing she'd ever done. "Thank you," she whispered, "for answering, coming to get me, for everything." Damien pulled back just enough to look into her eyes. "Thank you for sending that text, for being brave enough to reach out, for giving me a chance to do better than I did 6 years ago." They stood together as the world moved around them, two people who'd found each other in the darkness and emerged into light. The road ahead wouldn't always be easy. There would be challenges, complications, moments where the past tried to drag them backward, but they'd face it together. And that made all the difference. Nora Hale had sent a text to the wrong number in her darkest moment. That text had found its way to Damien Vale, a man who'd been waiting 6 years for a chance at redemption. Together, they'd torn down corruption, survived a war, and built something neither of them had expected. They'd built hope. And standing there in the spring sunshine, with her ribs healed and her heart whole and her future bright, Nora knew one completely, beautifully free. The wrong number had saved her life, but she'd saved herself. And that was the most important victory of all.